Greetings, family. Empress D in nature, so I'm just going through a muddy patch. I hope everybody is well and getting out in nature too, because nature heals, not only mentally, but also physically. I was listening to a podcast the other day that was speaking about the cellular regeneration that happens when you're in natural environments like nature. So this is what this channel is all about. Documenting and chronicling the benefits of coming out in nature every day and the healing aspects and the encouragement of growth that being in nature regularly actually ultimately yields, right, family? So I just wanted to talk about the fact that I am so sad. I'm sad for humanity. I'm sad for especially melanated men and women. And it's not even just melanated men and women. It's actually all men and women that I think that there has been implemented an agenda to make certain we don't get along. And I say it because of this. I watch, on my, when your algorithm sends you things that would interest you, I guess, or things that it thinks would be interesting to you. And I get a lot of manosphere, man videos about men and what they recommend and the advice that they give. And you have so many men on these podcasts that actually are hurt and not healed. And their advice comes from a place of trauma that hasn't been reconciled. And you have them, some of them are really popular, and they're giving advice to other men on the internet. And we have the same thing from the female side. And it's also advice coming from a female that has trauma, that sees the world from the perspective of their experience, which could have involved a lot of unhealthy things, right, family? And that's what's happening. And I love, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that everybody can have their own TV channel with platforms like YouTube and even Twitter and that kind of stuff. It's called X, isn't it? That kind of stuff. But at the same time, anybody can say anything, and nothing's vetted. Anybody can say anything, and if they have a platform of 500,000 people, they can lead those 500,000 people or influence them with their perspective. And I guess that's why they're called influencers. Look at that. What an appropriate name. Because essentially, if you have a large platform, you have a lot of influence. And that's the world that we're living in today. And so with that influence, a lot of channels have really pitted men and women against each other. And I think that it's been pushed really hard since the pandemic. And that's when the last 5 years. And as a result, it's not going to be helpful or healthy to humanity and to societies, right? Because ultimately it's the union of men and women that bring the next generation. And so if men and women aren't uniting, then how are we going to continue the human race? It becomes very problematic and difficult to do. My house keeps falling off, family. But yeah, I don't know. I see with a lot of the men's. Let me go to the women. The women are, a lot of women on the internet are preaching that they only want a man that has 6 figures and this, that, and the other, and he has to make a certain amount of money, and he needs to buy her certain bags and all this kind of fart. And that's what women are expecting of men and how they're evaluating the men they choose to be with. And so based on this evaluation, they're kind of not even mentioning character, principle, integrity. Nothing like that. None of that. No. He to get in the door, he needs to have 6 figures of earnings annually, and that's the way that women are qualifying men. That's what they've been programmed to do. I would say in the last 5 years. Maybe it's been longer, but like pushed heavy more recently. Because when I was coming up, it was all about like, do you like them? Or what are they talking? What are they saying? Like, do we vibe? That's how we evaluated if we were with a guy or not. Not based on if he could buy us expensive bags. Oh gosh. And then like on the men's side, there's so and that's not the only that's not the only thing that's being really pushed with women. There's so many other it's just it's all about it's just really, it's rough out there. And let me speak for the men. Now I notice that the men are really being encouraged to be weary and leery of women, and it's within good right, especially if the women are choosing you based on your income and what you can pay for. You know, it's and don't take into account at all the character. So I guess men have the perspective or the perception that women just are really dealing with men to take from them. And so a lot of men had developed that mindset. They also develop, it's again not based on her character. It's based on her history and her past. And of course the past demonstrates the history, but that, if you're going to evaluate somebody based on that, then that implicitly implies that that woman does not have the capacity to grow or evolve from her previous decisions and choices. It's absolutely, oh my, it's absolutely insane the way they've got this thing set up. So basically men evaluate women based on if she has different baby daddies, whether she's been married or not, you know, whether she has had children from another person. Like, a lot of men are adopting the mentality that if a woman has children from another man, that she's not worthy. And I'm going to tell a story. I used to watch Kevin Samuels religiously. Not religiously, but regularly. He was in my feed, and I would watch when I had time, whatever, when it was, and he spoke a lot of valuable information, right? Because he spoke to the fact that women need to take accountability for themselves. They have to look at themselves in the mirror honestly. And they have to, like, you can't just expect from others. You have to expect from yourself. And he spoke that into women. But he also said things that were so damning and damaging. And I remember I watched that show before, live actually. And I never watch things live, I always watch it on playback. But I was watching his show live the night before he died. Anyway, I don't know why I brought that up, but I remember it because it wasn't what the Kevin Samuels example I want to speak to was not on the night before he died. It was, or the night that he dies, or whatever. It was it was recently before that. It was within that year or a few months, and it was a woman who was a single mother. She had 3 children. They were relatively young, beautiful young girl. You can just see in her mannerisms, she's meek and kind. And she called into his show basically to say, or confirm with Kevin Samuels, that her life is over basically because she's a single mother with 3 children. Right? And it's just, and she was crushed because she's like, yeah, so then I have no prospects basically, and it was so heartbreaking because that's what women are thinking based on some of the things that he was saying on his platform. And he had a huge platform. And that was brutal. Oh man, that broke my heart. Because if this woman was calling in and saying it, so many other women are, are probably thinking that too. Listen, I'm a single mother with 3 picnic. I would never think I was counted out in finding my person, because I know that that's foolishness that he's speaking to the world. It's brutal, right? Because anybody that's evolved, that loves themselves, about being the best self ever, about growing, is going to want a person the same. And at some point, you recognize that a lot of people that tend on that path are in situations and that result in single motherhood or divorce or single fatherhood, or for men, or not being where they should be financially, or you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different reasons behind that, and all of that have to be taken into account when you're evaluating somebody, right? Just because their womb has been used, or somebody else, she has carried and birthed children from another man, doesn't mean she's worthless. And that's what society, or the doctrine, for men basically preached nowadays, and it's brutal. It's really bad, man. And I feel so bad for women that really think that as a result of what's on the internet, right? Because, to be honest, somebody that's real, that's evolved, that's loving themselves, that's growing, that recognizes that people's experiences base their reality, and this, and it's not about, it's more about the character of the person than about their statistics, if that makes sense, right? It's so much more than this, that. You might as well hand out an application when you're meeting people, and that, I don't know, does that seem organic, family? Honestly, right? And of course, listen, I am so for people, it's so okay to have criterias, and you must have criterias that you base the people that you choose to entertain on, but we have to be really mindful about the superficiality of it, right? As a woman, why do you want a 6-figure man? What does that represent to you? Does that represent that he can take care of you? Is that what that represents? Because honestly, if that's the case, maybe your motivation for wanting a man that earns six figures is not serving you. Because in essence, every individual on this planet should be able to take care of themselves, right? I think that's why our Creator gave us free will, so that we can take care of ourselves. And so every individual should be able to take care of themselves. So if you want a man that earns 6 figures based solely so that he can take care of you, I don't know. Because you need to be able to take care of yourself. So that really shouldn't matter, and shouldn't count into why he should make 6 figures. If you recognize that earning 6 figures is part of I've said it before on this channel, that conquering financial abundance on this planet in an ethical manner without the abuse of power is such a flex on this planet Earth. Being financially abundant on this planet ethically is such a flex. And so it is also necessary to know you need finances to be comfortable on this planet. That's just how it is. And so you need to learn how to earn money on this planet without harming others, right? And I firmly believe that that's part of the challenge of being on Earth. The other part is that When you love yourself, like, and really love yourself, you know that you are so deserving and worthy of whatever it is that you deem that you want and desire, and what's available out there for your greater and best good. It's just part of it. When you really love and value and know yourself, you know that you're worthy of what you desire, right? And so in order to get what you desire, you have to have finances on this planet. You have to have currency. And that's just all it is. It's a tool to get the things that you need and that you desire. The key is, a lot of us don't know what we desire. I'm sorry, family. I'm just trying to block the mic because of all of the wind. But the desire, essentially, for why you want something is important. A lot of us want things because other people want it. They wouldn't be able to say what car they want without thinking what their friends have, or what other people want, or what's popular in the market. I think that we need to move towards picking a car based on what's in our heart, right? And what would suit our needs, and not based on outside influence. And a car purchase is just a small example of how we should make all decisions in our life, especially the important ones, right? Based on inside influence and not the influence of others. Because only we know what's best for ourselves. But in order to know what's best for yourself, you have to know yourself. And that's where it all begins. If we desire to know ourselves, we will know what's best for us. And making decisions, small or large, will be easy. Because who best to make the decisions in your best interest than yourself, right? Anyway, this is one long video, 17 minutes, family. Thank you for sticking with it. Thank you for taking time to listen to this message. So I guess at the end of the day, I don't want to just end it based on the time. I just want to wrap it up in a nice little bow. The whole purpose of this video was to really bring home that it is a psychological operation for men to choose and want and desire to be by themselves. If they are fully healthy and grown and evolved and where they should be, they should have conquered it all and healed it all and desire union. And likewise for a female, those females that walk around saying, oh, I want to be by myself. I get it. At a point, you need to be by yourself. You need to be by yourself to heal, to grow, to know yourself, to know what you desire and deserve, to be able to develop that discernment, to know when somebody is for you and when they're not. You need time alone for that. As us women, we do, to develop that ability to listen to that intuition, to actually first hear it. We need to hear it before we listen to it. So we women need alone time for that. And we must take that in between relationships, absolutely. Right? But once you're healed and whole, choosing to be alone, it's not the elevated progression. You get me? You need to, once you're healed and grown, you're ready for union, because you recognize that on this planet Earth, especially right now, being in a loving, healthy, committed relationship is such an amazing accomplishment. And I am so I gave my hats off. I'm so grateful to them, and I'm so happy for them. I don't know to put the words in. I just feel so good inside when I meet people meet couples in that situation when they've endured, and there's people that are together and they're miserable, but no, people that are actually loving towards one another. And when I see that, it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing. And I have the privilege of seeing that in a few people, right? And where I'm living and staying right now, I get a front row view of it. It's such a beautiful thing when two people are really down for one another and they live every day to make the other's life easier. It's such a beautiful thing to see and witness, and I have the privilege of witnessing that right now where I'm staying. And guess what? It's so obvious that it's so possible, right, family? I think I will gather it there. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this long message. I love and I value each and every one of you. One love, family.